Mark my words, Britain faces a crisis of confidence in its public sector. Rail unions, medical unions, and God knows how many other public sector industries are holding the country to ransom, threatening strikes over pay rises that our wrecked economy cannot afford. And it was, of course, so many in the public sector who wanted lockdowns and other COVID measures which have led us to where we are today. The cost of living is the cost of lockdown, the biggest I told you so in history. And don't forget, teaching unions were behind the push to close schools during the pandemic, something now widely accepted as a colossal mistake, producing a generation of damaged kids. And many other unions pushed for workplace closures and ridiculous COVID protocols. Jobsworth bonkers safetyism was rife. Not satisfied with guiding the COVID strategy, the trade unions now look to be in the driving seat when it comes to our pay strategy. Now, I'm a great believer in trade unions, without whom we would be living in Dickensian Britain. Everyone deserves a great wage for a great day's work. The millions of hard-working people we have in this country are the real aristocracy of Britain. And the unions are doing their job, standing up for their workers, many of whom are going through a very tough time. But read the room, folks. The country's skint, and pay rises from printed money will stoke inflation, which is already nuking the economy. More spending will simply pour petrol on the flames. And more borrowing, or even more tax rises, just aren't an option. Our economy would go from sinking to sunk. At this time of economic pain, Margaret Thatcher would have faced the unions down, as she did in the early 80s, following the winter of discontent, when everyone and their mum was on strike. Don't forget, they weren't even burying the bodies of the dead. But beleaguered, partied-out Prime Minister Boris Johnson may not have the stomach for the battle. Don't forget, he failed to face down those prophets of doom, Whitty and Vallance and Sage, over lockdowns. So I won't hold my breath. Meanwhile, the Civil Service Union are also threatening to go on strike over planned cuts. I'm not sure we'll notice much of a difference after so many have been, in inverted commas, working from home, feeding their addiction to daytime TV, baking banana bread and cracking open the first bottle of San Miguel at 5 p.m. as they peruse their last emails of the day. Nice work, if you can get it. And how about the NHS, who you would think are concerned about a potential waiting list of 12 million people, but are too busy rewriting the biology textbooks, making a web page on ovarian cancer. Wait for it, gender-free. That's right, they've made a web page about ovarian cancer, gender-free, with no mention of the word women. Instead, they state, anyone with ovaries can get ovarian cancer. Anyone with ovaries can get ovarian cancer. Yes, and anyone with money can go private. This madness is on top of health bosses calling women birthing people and replacing the term breastfeeding with chest feeding. What a bunch of tits. What sticks in the craw with the NHS and this highly politicised, divisive nonsense which cancels women is that you and I are paying for it. We're bankrolling this rubbish. God help you if you're treated by an NHS doctor that doesn't know the difference between a man and a woman. Good luck when he or she takes out your kidney. I say he or she, it's probably they, them. Which brings me to the Rwanda issue. Now, the policy of processing the applications of illegal migrants crossing the channel in Rwanda may not be everyone's cup of tea. I haven't a clue if it will work. I'm not sure the government do either. But ultimately, something has to be done. The law is being broken. People forget that. The crossings are illegal. And this is a humanitarian crisis, with thousands of people risking their lives as they make this perilous crossing from France. By doing nothing, we are effectively supporting an evil business model in which people traffickers, effectively modern-day slavers, take thousands of pounds from desperate people on the promise of a new life in Britain. Many of these people may be in a terrible situation, and it is devastating. But they're in France, which is a safe country, though anyone seeking to flee France does have my sympathies. So whilst the unions are dictating to the government over pay, gender ideologues are running the NHS, woke campaigners now appear to be running the Home Office. The Mail newspaper report that Home Office civil servants opposing migrant deportations to Rwanda have put up posters comparing Paddington Bear to an illegal immigrant as they refuse, that's right, refuse to work on policy. They've also posted refugees welcome stickers around offices. Meanwhile, an anonymous Our Home Office account on Twitter launched its campaign last month with a note said to have been posted on an official notice board, which reads as follows: "We have the spine to say no minister." The account, which uses an orange heart for its profile picture, comes amid claims that some staff are threatening a mutiny over the Rwanda policy, despite political impartiality being a legal requirement for civil servants. Two questions I would put to them. What other ideas do you have to smash this criminal and devastating business model? And two, why do you have an opinion? You are a civil servant, a paid employee of the state, whose job it is to execute the policy of the democratically elected government. Now, if Jeremy Corbyn wanted to come in and nationalise everything, if he's won an election, good luck to him. If a Tory gets in and wants to privatise everything, ditto. That's how democracy works. And for these paid government employees, often with jobs for life and gold-plated pensions, and many of whom can't be bothered to go back into the office, surely this is against the terms of their employment contract. These public servants have gone AWOL. Who voted for the NHS to erase female biology and spend millions on diversity officers for an organisation that is possibly the most diverse on earth, the NHS? Who voted for civil servants to thwart the government's border policy? Policing our borders properly was in the Tory manifesto, which produced the biggest Conservative landslide victory since the 80s. If civil servants want to be political, no problem, go into politics. But until then, your job is to execute government policy. If it's government policy to wear yellow underpants on a Tuesday, crack on and make it happen. I like yellow underpants. Very slimming. Our public sector is no longer in public hands. Large numbers of state employees are an ideological cabal of political campaigners who are seeking to change society from within. The problem is that no election can get rid of them in the way that we can get rid of MPs and governments. If people in the public sector want to be political, then go for it. As I've said, enter politics. But don't take the state dollar if you can't play by the rules. The political opinions of a civil servant should be as ambiguous as those of Mickey Mouse, Tom and Jerry, or Scooby-Doo. But when I look at what's happening to our public institutions, I think, yikes, let's get out of here, Scoobs. These people are scarier than the school caretaker. So who runs Britain? At the moment, it's the unions, the public sector, and woke, unaccountable corporations. It's clear to me that the only people who should be governing the country are the government. The clue's in the name.